Hello and welcome to a festive edition of Quest Media Network's Football Preview. I'm your host Mark Phillip, and coming up we'll be taking a look at the local games on Boxing Day and reflecting on some of the biggest stories over 2022. So weather permitting, our sides will return to league action on Boxing Day, and there's a number of tasty local derbies. In the National League North, Curzon Ashton will be looking to bounce back from Tuesday's defeat at Altrincham in the FA Trophy when they host Southport at the Tameside Stadium. Adam Lakeland's side have fallen to back-to-back defeats in league competition and find themselves just 4 points above the drop zone, but given how well they've done on the whole in the first half of the season, their league standing isn't too reflective of the performances on the pitch. And for the first time since 2016, the Nash enjoyed a decent FA Cup run, which took them to the first round proper against Cambridge United. After holding the U's to a goalless draw in the first round proper, the Nash then fell to defeat to the League One outfit in the replay on a round of penalties. But despite the loss, Curzon still proved that they can hold their own against the big boys and further highlighted their growing success both on and off the pitch. For Chairman Wayne Salkeld, the run in the FA Cup proved that the club is heading in the right direction, and the money generated from winning the preliminary rounds will be used to further strengthen the club in all areas.
Well, I thought, we held our own as always. I think, it's just a testament how we've been playing this season. I think we've been very, very good. And I knew that we'd give them a good game. Obviously, they had a lack of form and everything like that. So I just felt, it was a good time to play them. And as you can see from yesterday's chances, we could have won it. Within 48 hours, we're back to league action, which is tomorrow night against Leamington. I mean, it's the lads. We've only got a small squad. It's the lads who are putting the effort in on the pitch. Let's hope they're injury free. They've rested well today, and we can keep going in the league and keep our campaign going.
Obviously, there's a buzz around the club at the moment. Is it important to keep the players grounded for the league? Because that is the priority, even though this brings in a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I put in my director's notes for tomorrow that, it's back to league business. That's our bread and butter. We've got to make sure we keep that going. And and take every game as it comes. It's the old cliche, but we've got to. But I know the players we've got are strong players. They're collectively togetherness. You know what I mean? And I think we will rest people tomorrow. And I think the people who are going to come into the squad will obviously carry on what we've been doing.
And of course, if you win this replay, £41,000 in the bank. I know that you're doing the live draw tonight at Wrexham's Racecourse Ground. You were telling me before we started recording, you're hopeful that it will be on TV. And what would that do, not just for the profile of the club, but for the finances as well?
Well, anything, what we've done so far helps the finances. Obviously we've had 18 grand in prize money plus all the gate receipts and things like that. So having this sort of run in the FA Cup just makes your season. So can you imagine if we won the 41 grand and television? It would just make our season. It'll give us the foundations for next season. And I just think it's really, really exciting for the football club. And I'm so proud to be chairman of this football club.
Absolutely. And obviously the biggest thing for you now is, regardless of the result in the replay, you want the people to come back to the stadium.
Yeah.
There was over 1,500 on Sunday. How important will that be to the club's future growth?
Well, I always bang onto it. To your market, every time you interview me about getting bums on seats, I said that. And look at the Tameside Stadium yesterday. It was rocking. It was great. Obviously, Cambridge brought 500 people, but just to see how many local people come to the club yesterday, it was absolutely fantastic. And I urge them people to come back. We would have had neutrals. We accept that. But if you were new to the club tomorrow, make sure you come and support us. Get down to our game tomorrow against Leamington. I know it's a night match, but come down. And hopefully we can carry on what we've been doing.
And just a word for the volunteers who are working behind the bar, Justin the groundsman who put on a great pitch for the occasion. They work the wonders as well, don't they?
Yeah. Listen, I did a speech in the function room last night to everybody what was in there, and I thanked them from the fellow directors to the volunteers to the ground staff. Everybody associated with it. We put a showcase on yesterday, and I'm so proud. It was stressful at times, but it was worth it. And like I said, I'm so proud, and may it continue. And let's hope we go to Cambridge a week of Tuesday, and we put a good account on ourselves. And the thing is, hopefully be on telly so everybody can see what we're about as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just finally, if you do manage to win the replay, who would you like to see Curzon draw this evening?
Well, I mean, I am going down to Wrexham tonight for the draw. We've been invited down, me and Adam. Whoever we pull out, it'll be exciting. But you would like, a big club like Sheffield Wednesdays, your Ipswiches, or they play tonight, by the way. So you'd want a big club like that. And no disrespect to Cambridge, but we want a club of that stature. Maybe a local club, you know what I mean? So you never know, so fingers crossed.
Curzon chairman Wayne Salkeld there reflecting on the club's success in the FA Cup and the success both on and off the pitch. So Curzon are back in action against Southport at home on Boxing Day, and a win for the Sandgrounders will boost their hopes of continuing their charge for the playoffs. Well, off the pitch at the Tameside Stadium, the club's community development programme has made further inroads into strengthening their ties with local people and schools. As well as developing a veterans team, the community development programme, which is headed up by Mike Smith and Isaac Keast, has been running sessions at schools and recently donated 135 free season tickets to Cromwell High School in Duckingfield. It's part of the club's mission to attract a new generation of supporters to the club. I attended Cromwell a few months ago and spoke to Mike about the initiative, and he also caught up with Cromwell's Luke Davenport and head teacher Andrew Ford. Mike Smith, Luke Davenport and Andrew Ford there giving their thoughts on Curzon Ashton's free season ticket initiative at Cromwell High School in Duckingfield. Elsewhere off the pitch, the club recently crowned Gemma Whittaker as the club's Premier League community captain. Gemma works with the club as part of her Links with Infinity initiatives, an advocacy and support service which is based in Ashton. The community captain accolade is being given to more than 100 members of the public who have made an outstanding contribution to their club and local community as part of the Premier League's 30th anniversary celebrations. I spoke to Gemma about her award, and she now hopes to further strengthen their community relations over 2023.
Initially we worked with them as partners, as community partners, Infinity in Curzon, and then myself and when Andy was here, we saw that there was definitely a need for some more community focused work that would benefit the club, and then in turn how the club could benefit the community. So we formed the foundation, we applied and got charitable status on that, so we're able to obviously go for funds that are outside of the club. And then since then we've recruited a new foundation manager in Mike, and we're just across Tameside, a lot of the work does go in the Waterloo ward, but we're doing a lot of work across Tameside and even further afield in terms of targeting those who are the most vulnerable and the most isolated. So my work there is as a trustee and part of the board, but I do try and like to get as hands-on as possible, which is why I'm here tonight to dish out the presents to the disability team. Yeah, brilliant stuff.
And of course your efforts have been rewarded recently. You've been named as the club's community captain. We had it in our a few weeks ago, actually it was in the Reporter. So tell us a bit about this, just for listeners that might not be aware of it.
Yeah, I was really shocked actually. So the Premier League is 30 years old, and in response to that they'd invited clubs within a certain level to nominate someone who's their community captain, who does work within the community and has a vested interest in football. So when they told me here that they'd put me forward, it was a privilege really. I was a bit embarrassed at first, but it's nice to be recognised, and also it does us as a foundation no harm in that extra publicity, because the same with Infinity and with this awful disaster, we're putting it out there and people are flooding us with messages of encouragement and support, but also the more visible we are, the more people we can help, because they come to us and say, actually, can you help me with this? So we do welcome anything that will help us spread the word.
Gemma Whittaker there reflecting on becoming Curzon's Premier League community captain. Well, it's not just about the men's team at Curzon Ashton, as the women's team have also made headlines under manager Dean O'Brien. After claiming promotion to the North West Women's League Premier Division last season, the Nashettes have hit the ground running so far and also impressed in the FA Cup, eventually losing out to Norton Ladies on a round of penalties at the Tameside Stadium. Dean believes his squad is capable of holding their own in the Premier Division and is also confident that the girls can deliver success under captain Amy Smith. I spoke to Dean ahead of the FA Cup tie to get his thoughts on the season so far.
We've had a really good start. I think we've shocked a few teams that we've come up against, and then during the games they've not been able to do anything about it. So we've kept some clean sheets, showed our experience, even though we've just come up into the league. And yeah, I think there's a lot of teams noticing us that wouldn't have normally noticed the team that came up into the division above. So yeah, it's good start.
Last time we spoke, you said you've got a long-term plan in place, and I suppose as part of that, the promotion last season ties in with it. So what are you hoping to achieve this season?
Well, to say that we've just come up from the Division 1 South into the Prem, we need to make sure that we have a steady season. We've set goals, and if we can get above mid-table, that's a great goal and a great achievement for us. It'll be a good season, but you know, some of the performances are top draw performances so far this season. So it's looking good so far. We're picking points up, and it's progression every game. So it's all looking rosy at the minute.
And you've retained the squad. Have you brought any new faces in over?
Yeah, we've had 3 or 4 new signings. We've just signed Jordan Bailey from FC United, great attacker. Abigail Chesworth from Stockport, so she's experienced. She brings a lot of pace. Liz Ince, former England international, had a break from football and played here about 15-20 years ago, but the last team she played for was Liverpool, and she was getting paid, so it's great to get her down and blend her in with what we've got.
How important is it to keep the core of your squad for stability moving forward? Because obviously with outgoings it can cause a lot of upheaval, so how important is that stability?
Oh, it's massively important. I say every time I speak to managers or anything about this league, you have to have consistency, and that's from the coaching, from the effort the girls put in, from the performances and the squad. If you've got a different squad every week, then you're probably going to drop points here, there and everywhere. But if you can get consistency and then add to that consistency, you can only get better.
Of course, you've got Captain Amy Smith here for another season, a bit of a Curzon legend. How important will she be in terms of leading the side to success?
Amy's always important. She leads by example on and off the pitch. So, we've got many leaders, to be fair, this season. And Amy does what Amy does. She's led since I first ever met her, my first conversation with her, and she's still doing the same now.
In terms of the Euro 2022 success, how important do you think that's going to be to help the women's game grow?
Yeah, you're getting more young girls into it. I don't think it'll have too much of a knock-on effect for us at the minute, but the young ones, like I arrived here at 11 o'clock this morning, that pitch was packed full of lads and girls. And from the Wildcats that the club run now for the FA, that's got great numbers as well, so there's great interest from the younger side.
Yeah, definitely. Just finally, as it is the FA Cup, I know that you've got prize money this season, so how important is that prize money and how is it reinvested into the women's section?
Well, what's happened since COVID, we've found that the lack of sponsors has been there, because obviously businesses have gone through a bit of turmoil. So they're not as easy to part with the money for sponsorship, but with this competition the FA have pumped more money in it this year, so the prize fund's a great deal more than it was, so that can set us up for another 2 seasons. Bring kits in, bring strength and conditioning coaches in and stuff like that, so it's we're improving off the pitch and spending the money wisely.
Curzon's women's team manager Dean O'Brien there reflecting on a memorable 2022. Elsewhere on Boxing Day, Ashton United make the short trip to FC United of Manchester in the NPL Premier Division. The Robins are currently 12th in the table, having won 9, drawn 5 and lost 8 of their 22 fixtures. Meanwhile, the Rebels are 8th in the table and have the joint second best scoring record in the league alongside Bamber Bridge, having knocked 34 times in 21 games. It's been a fairly decent year for the Robins, having finished mid-table last season and also winning the Manchester Premier Cup with victory over Hyde United in last season's final at Broadhurst Park. Michael Cledd's side have continued their defence of that trophy and will host Wythenshawe Town in the semi-final on the 6th of February. From another local angle, Glossop North End are also competing in the other semi-final, and the Hillmen will make the short trip to Radcliffe. Well, Clegg has big ambitions with the club and makes no secret of his desire to return the club to the National League North, where they once were under Jody Banham during the 2018-19 campaign. I spoke to Clegg earlier in the season, and the former Adderton Collieries boss outlined his aims and ambitions for the first team, and also spoke of his admiration for the Volunteers and Community Programme, which helps disadvantaged residents with food pantries, amongst other things.
It's been indifferent in terms of performances, but I think points-wise, we start season, we set ourselves a 2-point-a-game target, and we get 3 points tonight, with 10 games, 20 points. So I think that's why tonight will be a big game for us.
Of course, you've been here a few seasons now. It's been disrupted by COVID and stuff like that, so it's not been the easiest to rise. But looking at this season, you've got a blank canvas. Is the aim to get promoted? Is that a basic?
It's always tough, obviously, when you've got your South Shields in there, and I think they probably will end up being your winners. But I think that's always got to be the aim, to aim for the biggest things, which will be promotion. But I think where we're at, we just want it to be better, a lot better than where we was last year. Get more points, get a way of playing, have an identity, and keep players on the pitch. Because I think last year went on 2 really good solid runs, but that was hampered by injuries a lot of the season, and last year felt like a season just full of frustration when we knew what we had in the building. And I think he's shown this. I think we got 9 points of our first 13 games last year, which will show you how far we've come since then.
Yeah, massively. And of course, you head into this season as Manchester Premier Cup holders. Yeah. You're going to begin your title defence against Curzon Ashton here at Hurst Cross, so that's got a bit of added spice to it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And Curzon come here in pre-season, and that was tasty, to be honest. But Adam's built a really strong Curzon side there this year. I think that's probably the strongest they've been in a while, and obviously with us being the cup holders, we'll want to keep it. So, listen, we're strong at home. We fancy our chances against everyone. Everyone will get the same level of respect, and we'll really look forward to that. Yeah.
And looking at some key players, you brought in Mike Phoenix. He's been absent for a couple of years now, but looking at him up front, is he a goal scorer?
Oh, he's a goal scorer out and out. He's horrible as well to play against. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. So Phoenix now just needs to get more minutes when he can, keep working hard behind the scenes, and I think once we get him up to 90 minutes, I believe we'll have the best number 9 in the league.
Stuff, and it's not just stuff that happens on the pitch here. I know that you're a massive advocate of the community trust here, Ashton United in the community. How important are the volunteers to keeping this club going?
Oh, they're brilliant. I mean, they undersell themselves here. We don't absolutely batter it on social media and all that kind of stuff, but they're fantastic people, and I think when you hear the level of families using the food bank now and what they do in the community and for the women's refuge and all that, as manager of the football club, it makes you really proud, and I think that's a big message that we pay a lot to the players. There's so many people who give up the time for this club, and we really need to start putting performances together on the pitch to reflect what goes on off the pitch. So that was a real key message this summer for us.
And of course, your arrival here has kind of coincided with the new owners coming in. Everyone knows they put a lot of money in. There's a lot of investment on and off the pitch. So what's your relationship like with them, and what they're hoping to achieve here in the long term?
I think long term they want to put the club in a better place. They've not come in and just wanted everything overnight. It's been, and as you look around, the facilities are looking better, the bar's looking better, the pitch is looking better. Obviously the Ashton United in the community's grown. Then I think on the pitch it was just about getting an identity and kind of getting the soul back, because with the relegation and then the start of the season they lost all of that. Players were coming in from everywhere, so I think like Colts, he's just racked up a 50 and stuff, and Ben Hardcastle has now, I think, and it's about getting more lads familiar who are here and building something long term. And my relationship's really good with them both. Jonathan spends a lot of time in London, so a lot on the phone with him, and David's up here who's been fantastic with me. So yeah, they're great people. They're everything you want in owners, really, and they've backed us whenever we've needed to be back, so we can't grumble at all.
Ashton United boss Michael Clegg there, outlining his aims and ambitions with the club and his admiration for the community programme. Well, elsewhere in the NPL Premier Division on Boxing Day, there's a tasty derby between Hyde United and Stalybridge Celtic at the Project Solar Stadium, more traditionally known as Ewan Fields. For Hyde, it's been a memorable 2022 for both the men's first team and the women's team. After being appointed as the Tigers' first-team boss in February, Nick Spooner guided the squad to safety in the Premier Division and has hit the ground running so far this season, with the Tigers currently second in the table ahead of the clash against Celtic. The signing of Jack Redshaw from Ashton United over summer has been the catalyst for success, with the former Morecambe and Blackpool striker racking up a number of goals in the first half of the campaign. The women's team have also impressed in 2022 and continue to grow in strength under manager Lee Prince. I spoke to Lee about the squad's aims and ambitions, along with the inspiration taken from the Lionesses' success at the Euros.
I did my coaching badges when I was first 19, which is many moons ago, and I got into junior football and helping deliver holiday courses, pulling off it here 30, 40 years ago, and since then I've carried on, run a couple of boys teams and men's teams, and then I've got involved in women's football through my daughter, who started when she was 8. She's now 22, so obviously we've been doing it quite a few seasons and then building, hopefully, bit by bit.
So obviously you're the manager of Hyde United's women's team. How's it going so far this season?
Yeah, so good. We've been promoted this year. We've gone up to the top division in the Great Manchester Women's League. So the idea is to try and build and consolidate this year with a number of new players coming in. So hopefully we're going to go from strength to strength.
Today it's the County Cup against Crompton. Before we start recording, you were telling me that it's quite unpredictable, especially in cup competition. So are you confident going into this one?
Yeah, hopefully we're confident. We've got quite a good team out today. So we've got real good clear principles of play, so hopefully we'll pass the ball well today and we'll get a good result.
And of course it's coming off the back of the Women's Euros 2020 success. Have you seen a spike in attendance figures with participation rates going up?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot more girls and ladies interested in coming to train with us, a lot more people coming to support us. We're very well supported with although the Hyde Club and the one family kind of mentality with the junior section of the men's, so we get quite a good crowd to each game. Lucky enough to play in the stadium, and obviously things are just on the up and up for us at the moment.
I was going to say, you have got a fantastic facility here, and as you just alluded to then, you feel welcome. Looking at the men's team, yesterday's result, quite difficult to take, wasn't it? 2-1 defeat at Buxton. Do you get the girls coming down to support them as well?
Yeah, quite a few of the girls come down. We try and watch as many games as we can with the men's team and give them the support where we can to help them along as well.
In terms of age ranges, do you find that you get a good mix in the open age girls team, or is it specifics?
Yeah, definitely. We've got quite a varied age. Some of our youngest players are 16 and 17 now, and then some of the older ones are probably in the early 30s as well. So it's a nice mixture of youth and experience.
Excellent. So just finally, so I can let you get back to the pitch, what days do you train on, and is anyone available to come down?
Yeah, if we've got anyone interested, we're looking for experienced players, always on the lookout for people who are looking for a new challenge, and we train on a Thursday night here at the stadium again under the floodlights, and that's 8:30 till 10 every Thursday, and match days are on Sunday afternoons.
Hyde United women's team manager Lee Prince there providing his thoughts on the club's vision for the future. Well, as he alluded to earlier, Stalybridge Celtic made a trip to Hyde on Boxing Day in what will bring a close to a turbulent 2022. After avoiding relegation last season, previous boss Simon Howarth confirmed his resignation from the club due to what he cited as the club's lack of direction and clarity moving forward as his reason for doing so. Celtic acted swiftly and appointed former Glossop, Ramsbottom and Workington boss Chris Wilcock as the man to take the reins. The club has so far struggled this season and lie in 20th position ahead of the game at Hyde on Boxing Day. I spoke to previous boss Simon Howarth upon announcing his resignation, and this is what he had to say about his departure from Bowerfold.
Few reasons really, Mark. I think the best way to probably describe it is in the owner's words himself. When I took the job, he said, "Congratulations on the job. You're catching a falling sword," and it has been very much that. It's been a real tough football club to manage. I've said this many times to lots of people at the club. You need unity on and off the field to have success on the pitch. I think a few people seem to think if you sign a few good players, you climb the league, all the fans fly in and off you go, and it takes a lot more to get a United Football Club, and I feel like it's been a real difficult sort of gig, if I'm honest. We've had a lot of people come and go on the board, secretaries, directors, CEOs, etc., and it definitely plays a part in trying to unite the football club and move it forward. And I mentioned to Rob about hopefully kicking on from this season. I think we've had a pretty good season. We got 52 points and signed some good players, played some good football at times, and we're very unlucky with the goalkeeping situation. We ended up using 10 or 11, and I'm convinced without that we would have got another 9-10 points, which would have put us in the low 60s, which would have been a really good total. And a few of the lads, your Wedgie, your Raoul, Keenan's were worth keeping, and they were just sort of saying to me, what's happening next year, and the club really weren't forthcoming in putting any sort of plan in place for next season and kicking on, and I felt with what we'd done this year, if we could have kept the better players and maybe added a little bit to the budget, we could have pushed on and been a good top 10 team, and that would have been a big step forward for the club, that was once catching a falling sword, if you like, 4 years ago. So there was nothing forthcoming and no real sort of plan in place. to move the club forward next season. And I guess I've had to be a little bit selfish and think of myself and resign and move on and look for another opportunity. And it's been tough to do that because I really wanted to move the club forward. I've spent the last 4 years in 6 days a week with the academy and the first team trying to drag this club forward, and I've given it all I can really, and I've tried everything possible to move the club forward, and I've come to the decision it's probably time to give someone else a go at it.
Yeah, definitely. And you just mentioned then about the departures in the backroom team. From an outsider's view, looking in, there seems to be no kind of stability at the club. Was that one of the biggest factors that made you want to leave? There's no stability at the club, no future in it, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just, there's a lack of stability, Mark. And, when I first took the job, I thought, right, I can unite everybody here, the fans, the board, the players, get all this going. But the constant sort of comings and goings, I guess, off the field, and the club, it's well documented in financial difficulties and have been for all my sort of tenure. And that doesn't make things easy. And as I said, that's seen a couple of my assistants off, Gaz has moved on and Ian Johnson this year. So that's been difficult for me. But again, fully understanding that they've probably seen the situation and decided to move on a lot sooner than I did. And I've had to just show a little bit of selfishness and a little bit of ambition, which I do have. I'm an ambitious manager, and I think it's probably best I move on and try and find a club that maybe matches that. And like I said, it's a real difficult club to manage. I think anyone that's worked at the club or been inside the club will be looking at this and thinking, I totally get where he's coming from, and good luck to the guy. People on the outside probably still see Stalybridge as a big sleeping giant, but I think things have changed an awful lot from them days, and it's a difficult job to do through many different reasons. And as we said, the comings and goings and the instability off the field definitely reflects the ability to build a team on the field. And again, some people might not recognise that, but I think anyone who understands football or probably has half an ounce of an idea of business and understanding of the game will realise you need to be successful off the field to be successful on it. And it's one thing that comes together, and you can't have one area operating successfully and the other not. And if you do, it'll only ever be for a short spell. Ideally, everybody needs to be pulling together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've been in the game a long time. You know all about it. You've played as high as the Championship. I mean, you must know managers and players, I guess, at this kind of level. Have you spoke to them? Have they told you, is it similar at their clubs, or is Stalybridge Celtic just completely different in terms of how it's managed, how it's run? I mean, do you fear for the next manager that comes in terms of how he's going to take the club forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough in my own career, like you said, I've played sort of Premier League football, international football, league football, and I've coached in the Football League in League Two, and with Shrewsbury and Mickey Mellon getting promoted out of League Two, and I've come into non-league and had 2 good years at Clitheroe. Really, it was a very well-run club. It was a small budget, but we overachieved, and I think a big part of that was down to Anne Barker and the way she run the club. And I left there because I wanted to be a bit more ambitious and get promoted, and that wasn't the case there. And they've obviously now had some finance involved there and kicked on. And I think it's important that there's money at the non-league level to be successful. If I'm honest, if you look at this year's top 2, they're probably the biggest spenders, so you definitely need money. So I'm understanding of the challenges to bring money into Stalybridge, but I think you can still have a well-run club, as I alluded to with Clitheroe, where you can still have success to a level.
Former Celtic boss Simon Howarth there offering his thoughts on why he left the club at the end of last season. Well, moving into the NPL West Division, and we have a derby between Mossley and Glossop North End on Boxing Day. Mossley just missed out on the playoffs last season and are currently in a similar position after 18 games, as the Lilywhites currently sit 7th in the table under manager David Fish. Mossley have also strengthened their links with the local community in 2022 and have joined forces with Angels United FC, a football club support group and family co-founded by a group of dads that have suffered child bereavement. As part of the relationship, the team plays its home fixtures at Mossley Seal Park. And finally, Glossop North End have also enjoyed a fairly decent year on and off the pitch. The Hillmen are currently 15th in the table under manager Stuart Mellish, and they'll be hoping to pick up the 3 points on Boxing Day to wrap up the year. Now, we all know that finances are a massive issue for our non-league clubs, especially during our current period with the cost of living crisis. It was therefore great to see a crowd of 1,015 fans turn out for the home league fixture against Macclesfield in October. The Hillmen lost the game 2-1, but the result was insignificant in the end, as the attendance gave the club a major cash boost, highlighted what the club offers and brought the community together. I attended the fixture and spoke to Secretary Dan Bates about the significance of the fan turnout.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing, Mark. Yeah, I think we've just nudged over the 1,000 mark through the turnstiles, which is an absolutely amazing result. Biggest attendance here at Surrey Street for a good few years. And what an occasion, it's a real sense of pride today, whatever the result. The conditions really been a leveller at the moment, but I think everyone's enjoying the day.
The result's irrelevant in a way because you're bringing in the money, you're bringing the community together more than anything. Would you like to see more crowds like this and have the town of Glossop supporting you?
Absolutely, yeah. We went to Wembley a few years ago, and I don't think we're still achieving about 10% of what came to Wembley. So, days like this really showcase what we are as a club, what we can offer. We can cater for big crowds like this. We've got lots of other services going on today, and a real proud occasion, and I really hope we get some repeat business, so to speak, some repeat visitors.
Well, you just alluded to it then, but you've also got stuff happening off the football pitch. I know that you rent the social club out. Tell us a bit about that and how anyone interested can come and take advantage of it.
We've got plenty of room hire at the clubhouse nowadays. Pretty much all through the week, all bar Tuesday nights, so plenty of availability. It's a very usable site here, and non-football income was at its highest ever in recent years, so we've really boosted on the pitch there. So it's really coming on well.
What are you hoping from the team this season? Is it to push into the playoffs, or is it a bit of stability?
I think a little bit of stability. Everything's long term here at Glossop. We're playing some good football under Stuart. The team are really starting to come together. That mid-season now. Let's get some form together. We've got a difficult run of games for the next probably 5 or 6 weeks, but it's a long season. If we get mid-table, we get top half. I think that shows some good progression.
Glossop North End Secretary Dan Bates there offering his thoughts during the Macclesfield clash in October. And finally, Glossop North End Community Club has been growing from strength to strength as well. The club's open age futsal team were pipped to the title a few weeks ago on goal difference, just losing out to Manchester Futsal Club. Despite the loss, coach Ben Mills has been delighted with the players' performances, and he now hopes to see more of the youngsters progress to the Hillmen's first team.
We entered the Manchester Futsal League on Monday night, and we've got a really young team of players playing in that, so they're sort of under 17, under 18 players, but it's an open age competition. Run over the last 11 weeks, and we qualified for the final on Monday night, which we actually drew, but the rules of the competition were that if you drew the game, whoever had higher goal difference in the league would win it. So a little bit disappointing, but it was a great effort from all the lads involved actually.
So is this the first year that you've taken part in futsal, or has it been an ongoing thing?
No, we've been playing futsal for a number of years with the same group of players. Really, we started out at Oldham Futsal playing some tournaments. There's a group in Tameside actually called Inspired Futsal who ran some leagues. A guy called Russell Fryer who's really been keen on futsal. Obviously, Sala have had a base in the area for a number of years. So we've participated in futsal tournaments. Over the years, we actually under 16, I think we're on the Derbyshire County Cup winners, qualified for the East Midlands finals, and then just before COVID, we were top of the North West Futsal League, which had an early finish, but we played all the teams around the North West and we're unbeaten in that. So we've got quite a long pedigree of playing futsal at a reasonable level. It's hard to find futsal at open age, but Manchester Futsal Club have done a great job in facilitating open age futsal in the area, and obviously that was a competition that we took part in.
Do you find that the players take the experience from futsal into actual football? Do you think it fine-tunes the skills, and does it benefit them in an 11-a-side game?
Oh no, absolutely. We've got some fantastic players. Harry Bernard is one of the Glossop Futsal players who's had a couple of appearances for Glossop North End's first team this season. He's only 17 years old, and there's a number of the players who've really benefited from futsal. He's less reliant on obviously physicality. And if you look at the World Cup at the moment, the Messis and the Ronaldos, they still talk about how they played futsal at young ages and really develop their skills. So I'd encourage anybody to get involved in futsal as soon as they can.
And I know that Glossop North End are very keen on developing the junior section. You play your games at Surrey Street. How's it going as a whole with the juniors?
afternoon. Like I say, we've had a couple of players who've had opportunities at the first team. We want more, but you know, it is a tough standard, and we're playing in the Northwest Youth Alliance, which is the highest standard in kind of youth football outside the academy football in the area, and we get to travel to places like Blackpool and Preston and Bolton. So we're playing some really good teams, but it's good for the players to, you know, test themselves against the best youth players in the area. So yeah, no, it's a challenging standard, but everybody enjoys it, and we love playing at Surrey Street on Sunday afternoons.
I was going to say, it's interesting that there is a natural pathway into Glossop's first team. Are you hopeful that more players will come through and make an appearance for Stuart Mellish's side, or do you think you're just a little bit inexperienced at the moment? Because the NPL West, it's quite a gritty league, to be honest.
I think, you know, we want those opportunities to come, but you've got to be, you know, you've still got to be good enough. And Stuart's been great. He has given a couple of opportunities. We want more. Hopefully in the Derbyshire Cup, I think it was postponed this week, but there might be a couple of opportunities for players. And we recognise it's a tough standard, but you need to, you know, challenge yourself at a high level, and hopefully we'll get over this season 1 or 2 more opportunities for young players come through. But like you say, it's a high standard.
And of course, you've been busy off the pitch as well. I know that you launched the Christmas toy appeal. Tell us a bit about the response to that.
Yeah, so it's a food bank appeal.
Food bank appeal.
Yeah, we've got a food bank, had a great response, had about, over 20 boxes that were delivered for families, you know, who really need that support at this time of year. I actually dropped off the last box this morning. The food bank are doing a brilliant job in the community to make sure people, you know, who are struggling, you know, get some cheer at Christmas, really. So that's gone really well, and you know, we are very much part of the community. You know, we'll want to talk to you again in the new year, because we've got some exciting developments happening up at Cemetery Road, which I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but you know, that looks like it's you know, making really good progress. So yeah, lots going on at the club, but we are very much, you know, at the centre of the community, and anything we can do to help with things like the food bank appeal have been well supported.
Glossop North End Community Club coach Ben Mills there, reflecting on a successful 2022. Well, that just about wraps us up. However, for all the latest sports news and information, you can head to our website www.questmedianetwork.co.uk.